Jumping off from what my partner Molly has said, I implore all of you to understand that it is simply out of America's current reach to give illegal immigrants a path to citizenship during this time of great turmoil within America. With a great economic crisis ongoing, compounded by a steadily increasing employment crisis, it's hard to understand how we might find a way to improve our current institutions that are keeping America from taking action on giving illegal immigrants a pathway to citizenship. There's been a push for the improvement of government institutions, though when we look deeper into the statistics, we see that America already has problems arising from its current immigrant population that have yet to be solved. As I break down these issues, I once again implore each and every one of you to truly understand the weight of the numbers within this speech. Every person in these statistics is someone with a life, family, friends, and dreams. Do not let the overwhelming statistics overshadow the fact that there are real people deserving of a good life. It is an important fact to understand when delving deep into the issue that the U.S. has recently gone through a widespread economic recession, meaning unemployment has been on the rise, with the cost of goods and services also rising in tandem. It is hard to address issues having to deal with illegal immigration when we can also see how much COVID-19, unemployment, and inflation has affected our already large legal immigrant population. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the price of consumer goods increased by 8.2% in December compared to 12 months in September compared to 12 months prior. Inflation has remained above 8% since March 2022 and reached a peak of 9.1% in June, far above the Federal Reserve's target range of 1 to 3%, which is a very disturbing statistic, as this disproportionately affects the 14.8 million low-income immigrants in poverty residing within America, because those in poverty are always affected most by inflation. When looking at the employment crisis, we see that according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the U.S. currently has 4.7 million unemployed Americans, a number which has been on the rise even before the pandemic. In fact, compared to February 2020, before the pandemic impacted our workforce so heavily, we are still down 3 million workers, showing how we have yet to recover. This is all without looking at how immigrants are affected by the pandemic. COVID-19 has disproportionately affected immigrants compared to native-born citizens. In Minnesota, immigrant residents had a COVID-19 death rate twice as high as U.S.-born citizens, twice as high. More than half of COVID-19 deaths between February and July 2020 in America being immigrant residents, even though only a quarter of California's population is made up of an immigrant population. These statistics are so disturbing when you take into account that those in poverty all across the U.S. are hit much harder by the pandemic than those in affluent communities. The nearly 14.8 million poverty-stricken immigrants were bound to have been heavily affected by all these factors. To switch focus, I would like to share with you all the numbers behind unauthorized immigrant populations within the U.S. in order to give a fuller scope of the issue to all of you. From 1990 to 2007, the unauthorized immigrant population more than tripled in size, from 3.5 million to a record high of 12.2 million only in 2007. Since 2007, by the million, studies have shown that illegal immigrant populations have only continued to grow. And according to the Pew Research Center, the number of immigrants apprehended for illegally crossing American borders has reached a record annual high as well. These numbers are absolutely insane when taking into account that 44 million authorized immigrants currently reside within the U.S. Though the two statistics aren't connected, illegal immigrants make up over a quarter of legal immigrants if the numbers are put side by side. If you look a bit further into those illegal immigrant statistics, we see that in just one day, January 29th, 24,170 illegal immigrants were held in detention, with most other days looking very similar in numbers at these detention centers. Currently, these issues are being pushed to be solved with plans like the proposed billionaire minimum income tax plan presented by President Joe Biden in order to bring $360 billion into the government and its programs over the next 10 years. Though these are definitely steps in the right direction, there's no telling how long it may take to address those within our country that deserve our help with bills like these. Many of these bills that could bring funding to help these communities have been shot down, We currently need to address the systemic problems within our country first by properly giving those suffering communities that deserve better more funding from government programs. We will then be able to address those who need our help. Pushing aside the idea of the numerous problems within the communities of legal immigrants, it is undeniably clear that there is a problem with illegal immigration in America. With this considered, though, there are certainly already a few legal ways that an illegal immigrant may attain citizenship in America. An illegal immigrant may marry a current U.S. citizen to obtain a green card, which allows them to live in America. They can also prove that they are an immediate relative of a current U.S. citizen, so a spouse, parent, or a child under 21. Immigrants can also obtain citizenship through their employer or through seeking asylum status, which is a status granted to those seeking safety from their old home country. There are clear ways for citizenship in America currently, and we have to consider the law of the land. Because a policy that allows citizenship to illegal immigrants has a chance to attract more unlawful immigrants into America illegally. These people hoping that they can obtain citizenship after breaking the law that has been set in place. These types of pathways are sure to cripple our already struggling government institutions even further with an influx of more illegal immigrants. The Department of Homeland Security received around $115 billion for its 2023 funding, which at first seems to be a very large sum. Though the sum becomes a lot less when we realize that only around $11 billion of that was allocated to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, with another $10 billion being given to citizenship and immigration services. It is reasonable to state that without more funding, our current government institutions would not be able to properly treat and care for illegal immigrants going through pathways for citizenship in the way that they deserve. Even with our current funding, we are unable to properly treat those immigrants residing legally within America. It is a truly sad circumstance, but allowing citizenship to illegal immigrants does not address the issues that are truly facing the U.S. We have a failing economy, workforce, and numerous failing, ill-funded programs meant to support even just legal immigrants within America. These illegal immigrants are people and deserve to be treated with the utmost respect that any human deserves. Unfortunately, America is unable to give these immigrants the proper respect that they deserve, even with a pathway to citizenship. We must first address the systemic issues within our society and government, building better support systems for these issues in order to meet them head on and properly. It is a slow process and it is very difficult to come to terms with that, but when it comes down to it, as better as it is, we cannot help those outside of our country and give them the proper treatment that they deserve without first fixing the flaws within our system and addressing those within the country that need our help the most. Thank you.